Welcome to my channel. My name is Alex and I travel full-time with my cat and my FJ Cruiser. Sometimes we take the travel trailer with us, other times all we've got is our overlanding setup. Last week I shared that my parents came to visit me in Mexico and we had the chance to explore Puerto Penasco or Rocky Point in Mexico. And the reason my parents had come to visit me at that specific time in October is because I was celebrating my 32nd birthday. So in this week's video, we are going to continue with those birthday celebrations and pick up on the sunset cruise.
This is the motor guy. Remember, guys, you need the restrooms. The restroom is downstairs in the front with the both sides. You can find the restroom, guys. Don't put the paper inside of the toilet and don't put the garbage in the water. Everybody, welcome aboard again, and let's get the party started.
The first bit of advice I can give you about getting on this boat is to not sit at the front where these people are unless you are 100% comfortable with the idea of being soaking wet. A lot of the people that were sitting in that spot actually had to get up and move toward the back because as you go further out to sea, the waves get higher and then it starts splashing on the inside. I would also consider only doing this in the warmer months in Puerto Penasco. It does get a little cold, like right now in January. I am still here and I would never do this at this time of the year. Just because I personally do not like cold weather. Of all the activities I tried with my parents in Mexico, this one was my favorite. You just can't beat having a front row seat to a sunset over the Sea of Cortez like this. Even better, the price is really low. I think we paid $25 per person. Some of these do go up to $100 per person. It just depends on the boat. We were on the EcoFun boat for sunset cruises. Before you think I was the only one having a good time, here is my dad dancing to that Wobble With It song. So it's kind of funny because at first the less melanated individuals went up and it was kind of funny, but not very good dancing. And suddenly all the black people and one of the Mexicans got up and decided to show everybody how it was done. So that was pretty interesting. It certainly got everyone's attention. For some reason, my dad really, really loves that song. So that was his moment on board. Another big highlight for my dad was renting these ATVs for about an hour. We had a pretty good time with them. We've always been passengers on ATVs. I'd been ATVing in Mexico. My parents have been ATVing in Jamaica. We're always passengers. So now we finally got to drive some for ourselves. It was great. We had fun out by the sand dunes, but unfortunately, my parents' ATV broke down on the side of the road on our way back. So I had to give my dad my ATV and he went back into town to get to the owners, and that's why my mom was on the side of the road yelling for help. After what felt like a pretty long wait, my dad came back with the owners and they had another UTV and we were able to tow the ATV I can't tell you how happy I was when we pulled up and there was big boy Samson. Another place I really wanted my parents to see was CEDO, that is the Mexican abbreviation, but in English it is the Intercultural Center for the Study of Deserts and Oceans. The organization is 40 years old and uses Mexican and U.S. resources. I'm not sure if they've corrected this yet, but at the time, one of the issues we had with visiting CEDO was trying to figure out whether it was open or closed. When we thought it was closed, it was actually open. And when we showed up on this day thinking it was open because Google said so, it was actually closed. We just got lucky. The guy there allowed us to look around as long as we promised not to touch or break anything, which is obviously a promise that we kept. I don't know how far CEDO's reach extends, but I do know that here in Rocky Point, they are focused on studying the Sea of Cortez, which is teeming with life form despite being on the edge of the desert. The final place I wanted to take my parents was Maria Bonita. This is at the edge of the Malecon, and the reason it was recommended to me was just the beautiful sunset. Just look how dark it is, and you can still see the sunset and the city lights. So of course that meant we ended up driving home after dark. I know I have told you guys not to do this in Mexico. However, I will say inside Rocky Point, it doesn't really seem to be that big of a deal. Just don't stay out too late. Try to get home so that you're not like the only person driving on the road trying to get in. It's insane how quickly that week went by. Before I knew it, I was driving back to Mexicali with my parents. I did pass through that military checkpoint I told you guys about when you're heading in the opposite direction from Rocky Point. They did stop us. They did ask us to get out of the vehicle and they did search it, but not to the invasive extent that the Federale had done the week before. When we got to Mexicali, I checked into the Airbnb with my parents. This one was in a much nicer area, but it was a gated community and they didn't have like a barcode reader or badges. It was literally people with pen and paper checking each individual car in manually. It was really annoying, really time consuming, and they would have traffic like backed up into the main street. But from a safety perspective, it was good because I was going to spend the night there alone. I did risk another nighttime drive, I know, but I had to get my parents to the airport. I just made sure that I dropped them super early. So this was like hours before their flight, but just a little bit after sunset. So I figured I could wing it and it was fine. I didn't have any issues, but of course I cannot recommend that you do the same thing. Get off the road before dark in Mexicali.
You haven't get no house since the combo, you ain't get one now. You have the house key?
It's under car key.
Huh? It's under car key.
I make it look easy, but saying goodbye to family is one of the hardest things on the road. Those cop cars, as far as I know, are always parked right there. I've never had any issues with them. This turnoff right here on the right that you can barely see is where that cop car was that was following me the last time I took my parents up from the airport. Luckily, I made it back this time with no incidents and squeezed in behind the Jeep in this tiny parking space. And then the following morning, it was time to get up and start my 4-hour drive back to Rocky Point. By then, my parents I think they were back in Atlanta already by then, or they were back by the time I got to Rocky Point. Next week, I go off-roading in Mexico for the very first time. Some of this footage is from before my parents were there, and some is from after my parents left. But I've compiled them to make everything easier for you, and I'll share where the locations are. So I'll have all of that and more for you next Friday. See you then. Bye.